My name is David Yates. I'm a director, and I directed a movie called Pain Hustlers, which is showing here at TIFF, premiering here tonight.
I'm Lawrence Gray. I'm the producer of the film Pain Hustlers that's having its world premiere here at TIFF.
So the premise of Pain Hustlers is it follows a character called Liza Drake, played by Emily Blunt, and she's a woman who doesn't have much education, has been very unlucky in life, going through a difficult divorce, and gets a job at a low-rent pharma company, and she excels at the job. And in excelling at the job, she manages to turn around a very failing company into a hugely successful company. But in doing so, she starts to cross a few red lines in terms of the moral journey she's on. And it's really an American parable about how ambition and greed and naivety can kind of overrun you and take you to some pretty dark places.
So it started with an article in the New York Times Magazine written by Evan Hughes that had some really insightful reporting into the world of pharma. And there was a screenwriter named Wells Tower who I'd been a fan of since he wrote this brilliant series of short stories called Everything Ravaged, Everything Burned. And we'd been looking for something to collaborate on. And this one just completely caught our attention. And we synced up on a sort of take to the material. And then very quickly thereafter, an agent told me that maybe David Yates is willing to step away from overseeing the biggest franchise on earth and go back to the roots of sex traffic and state of play. And we were thrilled at that opportunity.
I was looking for a story that was part of the national conversation that dealt with some fairly gritty and interesting issues. I'd been making lots of big fantasy movies, as you know, over a period of time, and was having a fun time, but wanted to go back to my roots and do something that was a bit more earthed. And I read the same article that Lawrence had come across, loved coming from the UK, and where we have a national health system which we both eulogize and complain about all the time, and then comparing it to an American healthcare system that had this sort of extraordinary ability to exploit the people it was supposed to care for via the profit motive, I was just intrigued, and I thought this is a rich, interesting space in which to find a story. And Evan's article was fascinating and really drew me in, and then loved Wells' writing, and we just hit it off straight away, and we built the script over a period of 3 years, 4 years. Evan's book is encyclopedic in detail, and there are many characters. He sort of includes, he's sort of very detailed in his analysis of that corporate story. And it's a bit like comparing jazz to, we were taking a jazz score that effectively Evan had written, and we were sort of recalibrating it for an orchestra. We were going to sort of do something that could reach a global audience in a much more emotional way. So rather than really looking at the kaleidoscopic range of characters, we focused on one fictional character that we created with Wells, Liza Drake, and we basically focused the story around her journey. But many of the facts and extraordinary situations that take place in Evan's book, we sort of chart in some way, but they all pivot around Liza Drake's story, and Liza Drake is fictional. I think audiences empathize with her enormously. They like her, and she's a tremendous actor. And she's able to kind of inhabit a character, in this case, who does some fairly shady things. So it's essential that we had an actor who could retain the audience's affection and empathy whilst doing dodgy stuff.
It was pretty straightforward in that, we really saw these events as a lens into the world of pharma rather than being any one specific story. So, what was really important to us at the beginning was to make sure that the world was incredibly well observed. So, our writer and our team, David and I, really went through countless court transcripts, chat rooms, voluminous material to make sure that the thing was depicted very specifically and authentically. Once we knew we had the world, then anyone's individual story became less important than making sure that we got the larger gestalt of telling the story honestly.
it's almost hard to believe. David and I were talking earlier. One of the first things we saw on the project was a rap video that pharma executives dressed up like fentanyl products and effectively rapped, admitting everything that they'd been doing in Technicolor. And you really got this incredible disconnect between this immoral behavior, this illegal behavior, and these characters who are just, so rich, so greedy, and are insulated from the consequences of their actions that they're basically oblivious to it. That felt like to us, what an entertaining, exciting lens into the world through the people who just, it's their everyday life. This isn't abnormal to them. But us looking, gazing on that world, can't believe our eyes.
As calibrating my sort of journey from a sort of heightened world of J.K. Rowling into drama again, this felt like a sort of stepping stone that I could sort of like ease out of the crazy heightenedness of Wizards before I get to real social sync drama down the line. I could sort of do some farmer stuff in the middle, which was somewhere between the two, sort of nuts. But I loved all of that, and we repurposed the story. We set it in Florida rather than Arizona or the Midwest. We felt the Floridian color palette was really fun and bold.
And a great symbol of capitalism.
And a
the
great
way
symbol
that
of, yeah.
you see people living incredibly poor, but then just rich as a right within your visual line at every turn.
Yeah.
So you could really be in the psyche of Liza Drake, reaching for this better life, something she knows she's aspired to, something she knows in her soul she's worthy of, and then makes it easier to make some of those moral compromises.
We're hoping that people really enjoy the film and find it entertaining as well as moving. We walked a tightrope in the sense that we set out to make a film that was inclusive and enjoyable. And yet it's also about a very serious subject. So that's quite an interesting balance that you have to navigate. And we calibrated the film very, very carefully over a number of months to try and achieve that sort of ballast that was, and we've watched the film with a couple of audiences in our recruit process, and they laugh. Actually, they really enjoy the ride. And yet in the final third, you can feel the room settle and still, and they get the message. So we want to entertain and provoke at the same time, rather than do the earnest, this is a drama. So that's what we're hoping, that people have a good time in the theatre watching this movie. That's what we're looking forward to, we hope.
And David talked a lot about accountability in the journey, and really at a time where many leaders of our institutions are lacking accountability. It's wonderful to have a film that you really get to see a character who accepts that and does it genuinely and honestly. But of course, as David said, till we get there, it's a very serious message. It's a really raw, provocative, wild, audacious ride, and I think it is wildly entertaining.
Do you know, I started on Potter in 2005, and so it's been an amazing journey. And we made the last one, the Secrets of Dumbledore, through the pandemic, pre-vaccine. So we were shooting that movie without vaccines, and it took its toll. It was a tough old ride to get it all together. Huge affection and a lovely group of people that I work with, and I love all of them. And we, but we haven't had a conversation since we finished it. It's been about, let's just park it and let's be done for a while. And so never say never, I would say, but I'm very excited about moving on. I've loved making Pain Hustlers. I have other projects on my desk which are a million miles away from Wizards and involve all sorts of things which are non-Wizard associated. So I'm totally fine. But having said that, it's been a terrific, making this film has been a real joy, but never say never. But for a while, I just want to explore many other things.